Have you ever really thought about what happens to your tax money? I mean, really thought about it? Well, in this explainer, we're going to demystify the entire US tax system. We're going to do it by following the journey of just one single dollar, from your pocket all the way to the public services we all use every single day. You know, it's a question we've all asked ourselves, right? You look at your paycheck, you see that money's gone, but where does it actually go? What does it do? Well, today, we are going to find out. So here's our game plan. First, we'll tackle the big why. Then we'll see where all this money even comes from. We'll follow a dollar through the whole system, find out where it ends up, and then we'll zoom out to really understand the bigger picture. All right, let's dive in. Okay, first things first, why do we even have taxes? Well, it really boils down to this idea called the social contract. You can think of it as a kind of unwritten agreement we all have with each other, an agreement to build a society that actually works. You know, Supreme Court Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes Jr. just put it perfectly. Taxes aren't just some bill you have to pay. They're our collective investment in the kind of society we all want to live in. You know, one with roads, schools, safety, and a real social safety net. Here's a really simple way to think about it. Taxes are basically like a national subscription service. I mean, just like you pay for Netflix or Spotify, your taxes are your subscription fee for all the benefits of living in a modern, organized country. Things we often take for granted, like national security, infrastructure, and public health. So if we're all chipping in for the subscription, where does most of that money actually come from? Let's take a quick look at the main sources of federal cash. Now this is really revealing. A full 50%, half, of all federal revenue comes from individual income taxes. Then you add in another 35% from payroll taxes, which, by the way, are for things like Social Security and Medicare. And that's the key takeaway right there. The overwhelming majority of the government's money comes directly from the paychecks of people like you and me. All right, now for the main event. Let's actually track that dollar. How in the world does it get from your paycheck into the hands of a government agency that's providing a service? It's really a 5-step journey. So first, you earn your income. Then your employer withholds taxes and sends them off to the government. All that money gets pooled together in the US Treasury. From there, Congress gets to work, deciding how to slice up that giant pie of money through the federal budget. And finally, that money gets sent to all the different agencies, like the Department of Transportation or NASA, to actually fund the work they do. And that brings us to the multi-trillion-dollar question, what are we spending all this money on? Let's break down where all those tax dollars actually go. So government spending is split into two really big buckets, mandatory and discretionary. And look, understanding this difference is absolutely critical because the federal budget is not just one big pot of money to be spent however we want. First up, you've got mandatory spending. The best way to think about this is that it's on autopilot. This is spending that's required by laws already on the books. It's not something Congress votes on every year. This bucket includes those huge programs like Social Security and Medicare, and it is the giant piece of the pie. We're talking well over half of the entire federal budget. And that is a crucial point, because since the spending is basically locked in, it means all those budget debates you hear about are actually about a much smaller chunk of the total money than you'd think. And then you have discretionary spending. Now this is the part of the budget that Congress argues about and votes on every single year. It covers basically everything else, from the military and national defense to funding for education, scientific research at places like NASA, and our national parks. It's a smaller piece of the pie for sure, but it's where pretty much all the political battles happen. So let's put it all together. This chart really highlights the big three. Social Security is the largest single item, eating up about 33%. Right behind that is healthcare, which includes programs like Medicare and Medicaid. That's another 25%. And in third place is national defense at 15%. Just those three areas, they account for nearly 3/4 of all federal spending. That really shows you where the priorities are set. Okay, so we've followed the dollar from start to finish. Let's zoom out for this last part and talk about why any of this really matters. So here's the bottom line. Taxes are so much more than just a financial transaction. They're the primary tool a country uses to pay for what it needs right now while also investing in its future. The choices we make about who pays what and where that money goes, they directly shape the kind of society we become. And that leads me to my final thought for you. Next time you're out and about, driving on a public road, maybe visiting a national park, or just knowing that incredible scientific research is happening somewhere, think about the connection. Think about how it all ties back to this system. How do you see taxes actively shaping the world around you every single day? It's a pretty powerful question when you stop and think about it.